It allows you to have this booming voice that's divine and the entire world can hear your melody. So go as deep as you can without getting to the point where your voice is starting to get distorted. And when you're purring, when you're using your words, your throat should be really vibrating. You need a sexy voice to pull off game correctly. Hey guys, Hector Castillo, Poppy from girlschase.com. Today I want to discuss how to have a divine voice. And a divine voice will get you respect from men and also really turn on women. Now, what do I mean by divine voice? In the Pali Canon, which is the Buddhist scriptures of the Theravada tradition, there are a few discourses where the Buddha describes someone's voice as being divine, and he lists qualities of what makes a divine or very beautiful voice. And the one in particular I was reading was the voice of one of the higher level gods of the cosmos, and he came down to talk with other gods. And as he was giving his speech, the Buddha was like, he was so radiant and he outshined any of the other gods around him. And his voice was, and then listed these qualities of what a divine voice is. So the first quality that makes a divine voice is it's clear. Now, clarity is mostly a question of enunciation, a little bit of volume, but mostly enunciation where you're properly enunciating your words, and so that people can clearly distinguish what it is that you're saying, what words you're saying. Next is comprehensible. This is also a auditory thing, but also a linguistic thing. Is it comprehensible in that I understand what you're saying because you're using the right words? Usually the best way to discuss things is very simply. Occasionally you can throw in a $10 word that fits, and sometimes it kind of makes things cool and sexy and you come off smart. But for the most part, if you truly understand something, you can explain it to a fifth grader using very simple language. Charming. Charm is more of a vocal tonality thing, and also it's a facial expression thing and a body thing where your entire package is charming. But specifically for the voice, charm is intonation, it's rhythm. So if you want to make an interesting point, you start to intonate your words like this, and then you're listing them, and then you're really driving the point home by having this vocal tonality. That's charm. That makes people pay. Anything is charming if it charms someone, meaning it gets their attention, it lures them into what you're saying, it keeps their eyes and ears glued to you. That's what charm is. Now, there's different types of charming. Some people can be really slow about it, and they have a more inquisitive, professorial, but still sexy and interesting voice. And some people are really loud, and I would like to talk really fast, and they make it interesting via their vocal tonality and their volume and the words they're using and the pacing of the words. That's what charms them into paying attention, charms the listener into paying attention. And so you have to devise your own personal voice that you find charming. Usually you just want to think, am I high key or am I low key? Am I very excitable or am I a little bit more chill? And then you have to adjust to those particular types of speaking. Audible. Is it loud enough for me to hear? And is it not so loud that you're yelling? Most people, though, their problem is they speak too soft. Very few people have the problem if they're too loud. And you'll usually see people's reactions of just like, you're kind of annoying and you're like way too fucking loud. But most people have the problem of being too quiet. So I would advise, in general, for most of you to just raise your volume a few decibels and see if you begin to command more attention from men and from women. So respect from men and attraction from women. Now, the next quality is one that I've had a little trouble with my research. It's rounded. I don't have any special singing education or vocal training for choir or anything like that. And this is a word that's very particular for singing. I did some research on it, but no one could come up with a really clear definition. It was something like, if your throat is very open, it allows your words to, bounce on each other, or, the vibrations to kind of have a roundness. See, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I'm just gonna skip that one. And if you're well-versed in music education or vocal techniques, please leave a comment in the description to accurately explain what a rounded voice sounds like, because I don't know. Undistorted. Now, undistorted is you're not stuttering. You are, like right now, see, I'm trying to think of a way to think of it, so I guess I'm not having a divine voice. So it's not just the vocal tonality itself, it's the way of speaking. So you're not stuttering, it means you're not getting tripped up over your own words, which is something that I personally have trouble with, I'm gonna be honest. My voice isn't perfect, but it's pretty damn sexy, in my opinion, and the girls seem to agree. But distorted would be the one that I might have trouble with, because I like to speak really fast because my thoughts are going at a million miles per hour, and I want to say all of this, but sometimes if I don't get it out really quickly, I'm going to forget. And that's one thing you shouldn't do. You should allow yourself to slowly let your ideas out, and this shows confidence in that you're not in a hurry. But I still want to get my thoughts out in the sequential order that they're happening in my mind. And so if I pause too much, some pauses are good, pauses have dramatic effect, but if you're pausing too much, or if you're pausing so much and interrupting yourself so much that you're actually stuttering, then you have a distorted voice. And so your voice needs to be a sequential thing. There could be changes of pacing, and sometimes you can go a bit slower, especially when you want to focus on something in particular and have people really pay attention to it, and then you go back to being faster, but you don't want it to lose some semblance of rhythm. And then also you don't want it to be scratchy, you don't want it to be nasally. That's another way that your voice could be distorted. And so if you have a very nasally voice, you probably have heard yourself before if you're paying attention at all. But if you don't, and you don't know if you have a nasally voice, it's very simple. Just pinch your nose, and if you talk and your nose is vibrating, then I mean, it's gonna vibrate a little bit, but if you're just like, and it sounds like a fucking cell phone, then your voice is too nasally, and what you have to do is learn how to speak through your diaphragm. And that's really simple, and you should be doing that in general, because some people also have a chesty voice, and that's also, or a throaty voice, and it's gonna be really scratchy. When you talk through your diaphragm, it comes out more clearly for whatever fucking reason of this instrument. So if you want to do that, learn how to breathe properly first. It's very simple, in through your nose, out through your nose, but you allow your stomach to go out and don't lift your chest. So then when you have the habit of your stomach is the only thing that's going out, not your chest, then just start speaking. And usually the voice is going to come out much more clearly because it's going through your diaphragm. If you have any martial arts experience, when you were taught how to yell, right? If you yell like this, like, ha! It's like, oh, okay, it's kind of like scratchy and you can't get quite to the volume that you are, and it's not really menacing, right? But if you go, ha! That's completely through my diaphragm. I'm sorry if I just raped your ears. David will fix the volume. But I can be loud, but at the same time, I can be really clear. Whereas if I'm trying to talk, you talk through your diaphragm, and it allows you to have this booming voice that's divine, and the entire world can hear your melody, but it's still clear and sexy and masculine at the same time. So deep, okay, deep, same thing. You can find your natural deep voice by breathing through your stomach. I don't have a very deep voice. But when I wasn't training myself to speak in a sexy way, I kind of had a more nasally voice and a little bit more high pitched because I kind of lost track of it's hard for me to force myself to do bad speech now because it's such a habit to speak, in my opinion, correctly. But if you want to find your natural deep voice, then just breathe through your stomach. And then maybe you can artificially lower it a few decibels, but you don't want to be too high pitched, even if you naturally have a high pitched voice. Like me, I don't have a naturally deep voice. So I'll find my natural deep voice, but then I might lower it a little bit. A lot of this is artificial, to be completely honest. There's not this is your voice. You just find a voice that's not try hard, like I'm trying to be super deep right here, masculine. I'm trying too hard. And I actually end up distorting my voice for the sake of deepness. So go as deep as you can without getting to the point where your voice is starting to get distorted. And finally, resonant. Resonance is more of a musical quality. And so it's not about the volume, and it's not about how you're going about it, it's simply the vibration of your voice. And so resonance is going to come from this, what we call purr. And when you're purring, when you're using your words, your throat should be really vibrating. And it should have this kind of almost scratchy, but it's not quite. It's a little bit gravelly, maybe, on the really deep end. But it should be warm and rich. And all that means, those are words to describe that vibration that's happening in your words. And the way you do that, again, so you talk through your diaphragm, and then as the air goes up, you're gonna feel this, you should hold your chest. And if you're starting to get like a really warm, like, do that. Okay, there we go. That's a better way. You can feel it in your chest. You can feel it in your throat, and then try to get that while you're talking. So, and now I'm talking, and I have kind of a rich voice. But if you just do, then it's a bit nasally. So you have to take like half of it and do half of that without getting to the point where you're being nasally, and then you find that perfect equilibrium of richness and resonance. And that resonance means it's going to it's gonna have kind of like an echo within itself or something. I don't know how these are working. I'm not a sound engineer, but I know how it sounds, and I know how a sexy voice sounds. So for those of you who have vocal training and you want to give me like the lingo to properly describe what it is I just described, I would really appreciate that. But I hopefully have given you enough descriptions to enact it and practice it without understanding the exact physics of it. So yeah, that's how you have a divine voice. That's how you have a voice that is respectable by men, understandable by men, and also very sexy to women, because you're a dominant, authoritative figure with a dominant, authoritative, divine voice. Now, voice is a very big part of seduction, and it's part of your fundamentals, which I highly recommend you super focus on. Because even if you have good game and you know what to say, if you don't say it in a sexy way, it's kind of like throwing a punch, but you have a noodle arm. Even if you have perfect technique, it's probably not going to be that great. You need to lift some weights a little bit and get some meat on your bones so that the mass is actually mixing with the acceleration and creating a hard force. So in the same way, I just fucking started the shit out of that. In the same way, you need a sexy voice to pull off game correctly. Now, once you get your voice down, then you need to start focusing on game. Well, we have this channel, so you can like, subscribe, and ring the bell for all things game. But also, if you want a simple, all-in-one package for a process to take a girl from meeting her to sleeping with her and then turning her into a girlfriend or one of the girls in your rotations, whatever it is that you're looking for from women and from your dating life, we have something called One Date. It's a very simple, concrete, simple to follow, easy to execute course that teaches you how to approach girls, how to text them to get them on the date, how to talk to them while they're on the date and actually create a bond with them and have them like you and want to fuck you, how to recognize the signs when she's ready to go home, and then pull her home and then fuck her all in one date, because that's the goal, because it's called One Date. So check that out in the description below. One Date, it's a course made by me and my mentor Chase, where I'll interview him about all things screwing her in one day, basically, in the most simple, easy to follow way that he knows after his 10+ years of teaching guys how to get girls. So check that out in the description below. One Date. As for me, like, subscribe, ring the bell. As always, keep up to date with all of my new YouTube videos. Try and develop a sexy voice by practicing and recording yourself when you're talking, and then if you make it a habit, you won't even have to think about it anymore like I do. And also, you're gonna be seeing the increases in your results with women when you change your voice, I guarantee it. You can even split test it, go up to a girl and kind of talk in a regular voice, and then go up to a girl and kind of try hard and see if you can make a sexy voice and see the results that change between the different voices. So again, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, go fuck yourself, follow me on Instagram, and have a divinely sexy day.